What do we really lose? You got a guy running the offense. You got a guy running the defense. What? What are we really losing in that situation? I think EB can handle giving the team like a team speech. He's already set up the practice plan, apparently. So we're not losing anything. Just do it already. Just do
Here,
it.
I don't even need any words to show you what we're losing. Go ahead.
We called it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. To anybody who was wondering how it would be
And I'm not
mathematically
happy about it.
possible, no, I'm not one of those guys that celebrates the team doing poorly because I can be right about a point that I made.
Yeah.
But for anybody who was wondering how it would be mathematically possible for us to be swept by the Giants but still be ahead of them in the division, we're right there. And I tell you what, next week we might be tied with them. I mean, if they win next week, anybody who thinks we have any shot going into Dallas is on crack. But it's tough. It's tough for anybody who missed it or just wants a quick recap. 31-19 Giants. Tommy DeVito breakout game. He's went for 18 for 26 for 3 touchdowns, including 9 sacks, but he still had a 137.7 passer rating. So he was, put him up there right next to Patrick Mahomes, I guess. He was absolutely stellar today. Kid's got some talent, but I gotta believe it's just us making him look terrible. Sam Howell, 31 for 45, a touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Making him look good, you mean?
Yeah, we made him look good. 31
He
for
made
45.
us look terrible.
He made us look terrible. Yeah. Sam Howell, on the other hand, 31 for 45, a tud, 3 interceptions, 4 sacks, 62.7 passer rating. He did have a rushing touchdown in there as well. 6 turnovers, 3 fumbles, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble on the opening kickoff in the second half. At that point, you're only down a score. You've got a chance to turn things around, and we can be on here yelling about slow starts. But at the end of the day, the Giants were so bad, we beat them. But no, the worst team on the football field today, there was no debate about it, was wearing black. Which, by the way, can we burn the black jerseys?
I'm with you there.
Can we?
I even wore black today.
Black jerseys,
T-shirt and everything. I don't want to wear it anymore.
God, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
But
this, I text with different group, Uncle Max and Ken, and our little group chat, and this team just has Dan Snyder stink all over it still, and it won't be until we just completely, purge that out and restart, and that means uniforms. I'm not going to get into the name thing, but it just has to start over with. It's a shame from a timing point of view, but anyway, we'll get into that. You want to hear some good news?
Please.
So, I tried the best I could. I failed in a few moments to take my own wisdom from the pregame pod and stay tranquilo through this thing. And definitely going to do that through the course of this postgame pod. I don't have the energy for all the rants and raves. But I turned to my beautiful wife as the game ended and said, "Hey, what are you thinking for dinner tonight?" And she told me she's going to make beef cutlets and pasta with some sugo. So my evening is going to get a whole lot better. Yeah, that's the original.
That's a new take
on the original over chicken cutlets. So I think in terms of the game, it's tough to judge anything when you turn the ball over 6 times. I think if you're going to hate this, but let me finish. I'm not making excuses for this team. I'm not making excuses for the coaching. We were thoroughly outcoached the Giants, as bad as they are and as bad as their coaching might be, are a much better coached football team than the Commanders. That's obvious. Wink Martindale against DB, and I don't even know who runs their offense. Is it Dable that runs their offense?
Yep.
Against
Del
JDR.
Rio.
Completely, totally outcoached. I'm not even sure what Ron does, to be honest. However, if you turn the ball over 6 times, and I don't think in any cases, if you look at the turnovers, those guys trying to make those extra effort plays, and the Giants are punching at the ball, which I don't know. I don't know. I guess we don't know how to do that, or they're extra good at it. I'm not sure, but you just can't withstand it. And I think Sam got caught into really just trying to put the team on his back and win that game, and he can't do that. He just can't do that. But it seemed as if it was our only shot, as if he somehow pulled that off. That's the position this team put Sam in. And people might say I'm making excuses for Sam. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I see. It's a lot of years of watching this game and watching this team. And that's what I see. So it's, I can get on here and rant and rave. Like, for example, the defense, I thought, came out and played pretty well to start this game. But when the ball just keeps getting turned over and you got to keep coming back out on that field, what it does to your spirit is it just crushes it. And there's no way. They're just not good enough. This defense is not good enough to overcome 6 turnovers. They're just not against any team. And so it's at the end of the day, sometimes the answer is pretty simple. And you can't turn the ball over 6 turnovers and not force any on the other side. I mean, that's the story of this game.
And that part to me is just as egregious as the 6 turnovers on offense. Is that, I mean, we are playing a guy that, who knows, maybe Tommy D goes out and becomes the great Italian hope for the NFL and proves that Italians belong as starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. But I'm going to bet that doesn't
Joe
happen.
Montana.
There you go.
So we've
had for this generation. Jimmy Garoppolo is all we got right now, and that's not panning out so well. But
Joe Flacco is a decent quarterback.
There you go.
But anyway, I digress.
Some would
We've
say
had a few. Don't diss on Italians here.
We'll save that.
Just say third string quarterback.
I wasn't dissing on Italians, but whatever. We'll save that for the Italian podcast.
We're not talking about basketball. We're talking about NFL quarterback.
There you go. Tommy D, maybe he goes on to be the guy. I'm going to guess he doesn't. Just going to take a swing here. And the fact that you can't turn him over once is just miserable. I mean, you should be turning that guy over 3-4 times in a game like today. And Del Rio, you got some sacks. Do you want a cookie? Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's practice squatters on that defense. And you get sacks, and then you get gouged on 3rd and 22, on 3rd and 12. You get gouged by a wheel route by Saquon. Basically the same thing that we got burnt in the first. I mean, can't stop 3rd and long. So the sacks are great, and then they get a first down. So what do they matter for? Who cares? They matter for these guys at the end of the year when they're going to be looking at contracts with other teams. That's all they matter for. It's pointless otherwise. So I digress there on the defense. I think, Pop, you put it perfectly. We were texting before the game, and to give a spoiler here, we will do some honorable mentions later on in the pod. But today's a day that nobody gets awards. Nobody's exempt from blame. There is no, and that unfortunately goes down to our boy 14. He showed fight, but he just, at a certain point, that like senior year at North Carolina comes out, and he just feels like he needs to do everything by himself, and that's a flaw. That is a flaw that has to get addressed. And
I don't know.
Offensively,
I don't think it's a flaw. But
it's a flaw when it's a flaw when you start making bad plays as a result of that mentality, and that happened one way or the other. And I'm here for how I think through the good and the bad. I've seen what I've seen, and I like what I've seen, and I want to continue to see more from him.
I guess let me correct my statement real quick. it's a correctable. I think it's correctable. I think from a character point of view, proven by the touchdown, which we're not even in the game if he doesn't run that ball in and just get absolutely crushed,
Yeah,
which I know you want to touch on later. I think that I believe he's the only thing that kept us in this game.
yeah,
So
I
yeah,
agree with you.
he
I
made some
agree with you on
mistakes he
that.
shouldn't make, no question. And a last interception, he just I don't know whether that was exhaustion or being beat up. He's clearly trying to throw that ball away.
Yeah,
Just didn't put enough on it. That wasn't
just a
like a
duck.
bad decision. It was
Well, and
just,
how are we
he's
not
clearly
spiking
got
the
enough
ball?
arm to throw that away, right? So
How are we not spiking the ball on that on the play that ended up being a false start after you get that first down on the 4th and 1? You should immediately be going to clock it. And I see him coming up to the line
son,
to shotgun. That's not on him. It
son,
doesn't
we are
matter.
so Ashburn syndrome as a fan base. I mean, all credit to JP Finley for that. Never the most brilliant explanation of this team. We get excited by things that are just not that great. The coaching has been not been that great. There are flashes here
Well,
and there
that's what
that
I was
look
trying to
good.
say there was
Yeah,
that was a bad coaching decision
yeah.
there. It's you got to be you get this first down over the middle and you spike the ball. That has to be the play. What are we saving downs for? There's 20 seconds left on the clock. We don't have three more plays. Who cares? Like what are we doing there? Like I said, I mean, you're 100% right in that, and I agree with you, and that's why I started my statement the way I did. In that the the offense was bad. The defense was bad. The offense was poorly coached. Offensive line was bad. The secondary was terrible. The wide receivers were not getting open. B Rob, best player on the field, as per usual when he gets the football. He played well. That's about it. I mean, it was pretty shameful all around. The coaching wasn't there. The playing wasn't there. You could talk about, oh, a lot of the big headlines this week was are Howell and Bieniemy joined at the hip. Well, neither showed up today. We didn't get much good from either. And what we saw today was even when Bieniemy is not on his A game, Howell is still trying and at least making some plays off schedule and stuff like that. I think the turnovers are hard because we were moving the ball at points in the game, and that's not Bieniemy that's fumbling the ball there, but you got to be able to overcome it, and you got to not do it six times. And
You can't overcome six
and at a
turnovers. I mean,
you could overcome three. You can't overcome six. Six is just absurd.
there's reality here, and it's loser talk. I'm going
Hundred
to say
percent.
it right, and
100%.
I completely agree with you that the Giants were clearly the better team today.
Wasn't close. More
And what stuck
motivated.
in my craw all along, and obviously there's somebody that thinks they're smarter that put us at 9.5, 10-point favorites. I thought the Giants were the better team coming into the game. I just couldn't say it because it was so ludicrous to say that statement that I just couldn't.
We
Not
said
that I
it.
didn't
We
have the
we
courage
said
to
there's
say
no
it.
way in hell
I
you should
just
take that bet. We said it.
couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
But the reality is, six turnovers, and you've got the ball 24-19 with 29 seconds left on their end of the field. So you're inside the 50. There's a chance to do something there, which is absolutely incredible given the fact, and it shows you how bad the Giants actually are, given the fact about how that game went. So yeah, I think the turnovers are the story of this game, and the turnovers were mostly effort plays by these guys. I actually needed to cool off, or just not even really cool off because I didn't get that angry, but just take a break from it. So I came back late actually to watch the game. And I didn't even know that we fumbled the opening kickoff of the second half until, because I guess they went 3-and-out or something, and we got the ball back and drove
We had
it down the
sack,
field.
sack, sack, and then they had to
Yeah,
punt it.
there you go. So I mean, you can't overcome six turnovers. That's the story of this game. And if this was a normal season, which it's far from it, and the coaching hasn't been so bad, and the team hasn't been so uninspired in situations, you'd say the turnovers that lost you this game. And it's hard to me, it's hard to judge a lot of other things because of that. You
But
know,
something in
it's
terms of
hard
the
for me to give.
turnovers,
I'll put it this way: it's hard for me to give EB a true complete scorecard on this game
100%.
because of all the turnovers.
I
Right?
I
I
agree
thought,
with you on that. But
yeah.
something I want to push back on in that regard with the turnovers is, do you think, Pop, more often than not, are turnovers a physical issue of the ball slipping out of your hands, or is it a mental issue of the fundamentals not being in place? You're trying to do too much. You're not holding the ball the way you should. In my opinion, it's more mental. And I think,
You got to look at each play, and I'm
sure,
trying to remember them, but I mean, I remember Thomas's fumble, two hands on the ball.
what can you
He's
do
trying to
there?
get some extra yards. Kid punches it out. Rodriguez was very similar.
Yeah.
He's making plays, getting downfield. I don't know if he had two hands on the ball, but seemed to have the ball really well secured. I mean, I just feel like that's like one of those where you're going to try to punch the ball out. You're people. It's going to be easy. Like it's easy for people to say, "Oh, they got to secure the ball better." Of course,
Yeah.
but I don't really look at those plays as the player themselves made some sort of egregious play. Now there were a
I'm
couple,
with you.
and I think I
That's where
think
I was
I think
going.
Sam. I think the long ball, the first pass. I think that was a horrible play call. I don't know why we got to take a
Well,
shot. Now it's a bad throw. You said Diami. I don't think he should have thrown it. He's got to
he
make
shouldn't have
better
thrown it because
decisions than that.
Diami slipped and was 3 yards
He
behind
shouldn't
the
have thrown it.
defensive back.
But I don't like the play call at all because it's
I'm with
like,
you there too.
come on, let's just move the chains. Let's just get the ball down the field. Why do we got to take a shot at that moment? If you're that, in that
And
scenario, it's a bad play call. The
I got
rest of let me just finish my point real quick. The rest of the interceptions, one was fluke. The last interception was a fluke. He's trying to throw the ball away, and
yeah,
he just
whatever
doesn't
on
get
that
enough
one.
on it.
I don't care about that.
It's a
Like
complete
it's
fluke. The other one, he's forcing it because he's trying to play hero ball, which he fell into, which I
yeah.
think is a very correctable thing. But the team needs to not put him in position to do that. Sam needs to do better. He does.
Two
Not
things
making
can be true at
excuses
the
for him.
same time.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm with you
Yeah.
on that. I
Sorry.
to stick in with the number two here. Why is it that the only time we call the deep ball, it's the number two, who never comes down with it? Never. This is a guy that was a cut candidate. A cut candidate. And we're calling only deep shots to him? That's
EB
ridiculous.
loves him.
That's ridiculous.
EB loves him.
That's insane. You have Crowder, you have Pringle, if you want to use your reserve wide receivers, and newsflash, you have the number 16 overall pick in Jahan Dotson, who was on pace to be an offensive rookie of the year candidate before he got hurt last year. And you have Terry McLaurin, who you pay $71 million to. Can we call a deep shot to one of them? Hey, newsflash, we can line them up in the slot if you want to get a better matchup. You're allowed to do that. Look at what they do in Buffalo with Steph Diggs. Look at what they do in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson. They move these guys all over the line, all over, but not us. Hey, this play is drawn up to the slot receiver to go deep. So our slot receiver is De'Ami Brown. What are we doing? This is
Yeah.
stupid. This is stupid.
Well, I think it's probably it's no question about it. There's some great examples there. Ron said, which will maybe pivot to our next topic. Ron said maybe his last press conference that any of it sounds like excuse making, and at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, they didn't turn the ball over. They were disciplined enough not to do that. We couldn't accomplish that. That's on the coaches, it's on the players, it's on the collective, it's on the general aura of this team, not playing smart football and not being prepared to play. And I don't know how ownership, I don't, they didn't see pictures of Magic, but, it sounded like all the other guys were there. I don't know if Magic was there. Maybe he was. Um, I don't know how they could watch that game and not as a collective be thinking of making a change right
You
now.
have to you have to
Yeah.
make a change, in my opinion. And I think I understand, in retrospect, After week 5 against Chicago, I understand not wanting to make a change at that point. I do. And I know we were calling for it and I wanted it at the time. I would have been happy, but I understand you're in the NFL for all of 8 weeks. You don't want to seem like a lunatic. You don't want to make a change there. The season still very much has a chance. You have an easy stretch of schedule coming up. You know Rivera has to turn teams around towards the end of the year. You've got a young quarterback, all those things. I get it. But at this point, this season is over. Most of these players are not it. It's been proven. The coaches are not it. It's been proven. Show something to your fan base. And I don't care about it being a short week. I don't care about having to go play Dallas, who is looking like one of the best teams in the NFL right now and is just passing like you would not believe. Dak Prescott's on a heater, and we're going to go have to deal with that next week. I don't care about any of that.
I don't even want to turn the TV on Thursday.
I said
Honestly,
my
I
plan is
don't.
to my plan is to put myself under via some macaroni and cheese and incapacitate myself and hopefully not have to watch. That's
I'm
my
glad
plan.
you said that it's with mac and cheese. As your father, I support a food coma over any
That's my
other
plan.
kind of substances being
I
involved.
want a carbohydrate induced coma and I want to wake up in time for the night game. That's my plan.
Yeah.
Cuz man, that is going to be awful to watch. But yeah, you got to just at this point in my opinion, you fire Ron, you see what EB's got for the rest of the season. Not because EB has been so fantastic, but because that's just the next guy up, in my opinion. Fire Del Rio, and let's just get on with it. This is just ridiculous. I think Ron Rivera should be called into the office at 4:30 in the morning like Jay Gruden was, and
If you
told
do,
to pack his bags.
if you do something tonight, you can't fire both Ron and Del Rio. You can't do that to EB. I mean, EB's going to need Del Rio's. Say what you want about the guy. He's going to need some senior level person that can help him get through having to be head coach of this team, which is a tough position to put him in. Here's my thing. You saw it in some of the pressers this week, right? I mean, Ron knows he's done, and his heart just doesn't seem to be completely in it anymore. And imagine playing for that. Imagine being part of an organization where the future is so uncertain because the people in charge, at least with an EB, you can say, okay, we're giving them an audition and maybe the players rally to try to play for EB and save him as a head coach. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I personally think they're all gone. Um, and I think as much as we love some of the players, I don't know there's any player that's safe at this point. Um, but I think the reason for me, I mean, the main reason you have to make a change is because there's no hope with this guy anymore. It's gone. And if you want to, was there now just 6 games left? I mean, if you want to make something out of these next set of games, you've got to do it. But it's a tough spot to be in such a short week with travel
Yep.
involved. There is definitely a possibility that nothing happens, and then a humiliation happens on Thursday, and then there's a reset
Well, I
over
think
that
that's
weekend. You
you
know,
know, there's a couple like there's a couple interesting thoughts running around and thought number 1 is yeah, exactly that. You set up basically you send the boys into Thanksgiving knowing that it's going to be a bloodbath. And then after that, you just do what has to be done off the mini buy, and you know that that's what's going to come, and you can fire as many people as you want after that, and you're not doing anything wrong at that point, and that's indefensible at that point. Like you have to agree with it, or sorry, that's fully defensible at that point. You got to just go with it at that point. I think the fan base wants to see it earlier. I think you need an owner that is aware of the fan base, but also not beholden to the fan base in terms of making good football decisions. So I'm not going to be selling out on Josh Harris. I know there are going to be a lot of fans that are going to be if he doesn't fire Ron this week, but I would really like to see it get done.
it's unfortunate, but and because we're fans and we want to win every game, and if you're a real fan of this team and you watch them, you want to win every game. We were got together with some friends last night, and pretty much all of us, or most of us, are Commanders fans, and there's still a couple people trying to make that scenario happen of how we get into playoffs. You love that, right? Because you want to win every game. You want to give yourself hope. We all have those thoughts if we're real fans. But to me, if you try to separate yourself emotionally from it a little bit, right? I think they need to make the move tonight. And it's I'm not really saying this as an emotional situation. I think the move is put him be in charge, keep JDR. So like I said, there's another experienced person in the building. What do we really lose if that happens with Ron? What do we really lose? You got a guy running the offense. You got a guy running the defense. What? What are we really losing in that situation? I think EB can handle giving the team like a team speech. He's already set up the practice plan, apparently. So we're not losing anything. Just do it already. Just do
Here,
it.
I don't even need any words. I'm going to show you what we lose.
Yeah.
That's what we
We're
lose.
not losing anything. And we're probably, to be honest, putting the man out of his misery, letting him go, not put this level of stress on himself the rest of the year. So yeah, I would have loved a scenario where, we weren't in such a dumpster fire of a season and that Ron could have exited gracefully, where that 8-9 ish scenario. But we're not there. And it's not going to get any better. Look at that schedule. It's brutal. There's not one game left. There's not one game left we're going to be favored. Not one. Zero. This was it. This was the last game on that schedule that we would go into as favorites, heavy favorites. I liked it. I liked a little bit of whatever that person was taking that set that line, or the collective, but
Might help us get through the Dallas game this week.
yeah. And anyway, I mean, I think we agree on this. It
Yeah,
should
it's
happen.
terrible.
It sooner the better. Yeah, I think you could tell EB, sit him down, and say, "Hey, look, I know we're putting you in a tough spot for this Dallas game. Don't worry, we ain't gonna judge you on the Dallas game. Just go ahead in there and fight like hell, and then you
Yeah.
got a long week to kind of reset. And if you want to make additional changes, we could have that discussion after that game. But you can't take out Del Rio and Ron. That's crazy talk. That's just putting
Maybe I'm a little crazy.
not tonight. After the Dallas game, possibly, but you got to have a plan for who's going to run it,
I think
and you can't do it right now.
if you want my most
Emotionally,
likely,
we all want to, but you can't.
yes, that's where we want to do emotionally. And if you want my most likely thing that happens tonight, is I think Jack Del Rio gets fired. I think that
See,
is more
but
likely
it
than
doesn't
Ron
make any
getting
sense
fired.
to me. It
I
doesn't make
agree
any
with you.
sense to me.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But it's a change. It didn't make any sense firing the offensive coordinator in Buffalo
Jack
last
Del
game.
Rio did not lose this game
I'm with you.
today.
And neither did neither did the offensive coordinator in Buffalo last week. They lost because they had 12 men on the field. But I think,
That doesn't
honestly,
satisfy me.
I wouldn't be satisfied either. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's what I want. It's what I want to
I got
happen.
you.
I'm not saying it's what should happen. I'm saying I think there is, in my opinion, I think there is some motivation for the Harris group to show that they're a little less aggressive than Dan, a little less crazy than Dan, and they want a mutual parting of ways at the end of the season from Ron Rivera. And I think Jack Del Rio is that little bit of blood in between that we might see. That's just a guess on my
I think
part.
they're not reading the room very well at that point.
I would agree with you there, and I would think that you got to just get rid of Ron. But we'll see. You want to go through some honorable mentions, or you think we kind of covered it in terms of like
I think
player
you could quickly run.
performance?
I think you could quickly run through it. I think you touched on a lot of these already, honestly.
Yeah,
but
might as
maybe
well.
just quickly spin through it.
Good to see KJ Henry do a couple good things. This is a guy that shockingly, personnel was not thrilled with, and now all of a sudden is balling come the regular season. in the offseason. So good to see KJ Henry do his thing. Defense,
Sometimes it takes a player a little bit of time to
yeah, and it could be that too.
adjust to adjust the NFL.
Could be that too. Seems to happen here often. So maybe that's the thing. But good to see him doing his thing. That's exciting. Kayvon Thibodeau, if he played every game against Washington, you'd be saying he's better than Lawrence Taylor. I mean, just cooked us up. On our side, Brian Robinson, best player on the field today, as usual. 17 for 73 rushing, 758 receiving, 131 total yards. It's kind of looking like one of the only bright
Great
spots
player.
on this offense, and
What a
just
heart.
somebody that, yeah, the heart and the fight on that kid is fantastic.
Especially
And
knowing his story, right? Yeah.
yeah, knowing his
Incredible.
story and just the running back position in general, that's what you want from a guy there. He's just a dog, and I love seeing him get those catches out of the backfield, man.
Well,
I
I
love that
think
for him.
and this is where I'm unhappy with the coaching across the board because I think there's a formula with this team with B Rob and Sam that could be
Yeah,
very, very successful if we used the running game better than what our current offensive coordinator is willing to do.
yep,
I feel like that's how you build this team,
yeah,
going forward. I
I
really do. And I
agree, and
think
I
we've
think
got enough in the receiving core and other spots. Focus on that offensive line. Um, so just a
you
thought.
see it. You see it work in Detroit. You got a dynamic duo of running backs that are not too dissimilar from our backs. Obviously, Gibbs is more talented, but and you have a quarterback that's really good at managing the game and keeping the game in front of him. And we put Sam Howell in that position. I think he's got ability to be more than that, and I think he could thrive from that. And who knows? Maybe you see it work in Detroit. Maybe we're going to see it work in DC via the same man next year, God willing. I mean, that would be the best thing that could happen to this team at this point in time. Um, and we might be one step closer to that takeover occurring tomorrow. But Pop, boys are in an absolute nail biter for fantasy football here tonight. I mean, we
Yeah, it's
are
good. It's good.
currently
Absolutely.
it's 99.5 to 101. It couldn't get tighter. It couldn't get tighter. Me
What are you
and Pop
talking
are
about? I
playing.
don't think the people know what you're talking about.
I was in that sentence, but me and Pop are
Okay.
playing each other in fantasy football this week. It is razor tight right now, and this is a must win game for both teams. If anybody
Not
wants
too
a shot,
unlike a Giants Commanders matchup, by the
it
way,
really
given
is.
our
It really is.
records in this
If
league.
anybody if anybody wants a shot at making that Ron Rivera Mickey Mouse run and sneaking into a 6 seed and getting into the playoffs, it's they
One
got
of
to win
us.
this game. So it's a tight one. One of us could go on a run here after a win. You figure after a loss, somebody's going to be sitting at 4-7, and that's pretty much curtains for the year. Um, but we'll see. Both two decent teams that have both had a lot of tough breaks this year.
A lot of
Um,
injuries, yeah.
a lot of injuries, a lot of just bad luck with lineups, but it's close. We'll see how it gets done, and we'll update you
Well, we
guys
should. So
next week.
just to break it down real quick, it's going to come down to the Monday night game, right? The
Pretty
Taylor
much,
Bowl,
yeah.
because I've got my home. Like you said, we're pretty even at this point. You've got some players in play.
Got
It's
Rashad
really
White
going to come
going right
down to
now.
Pat Mahomes and Pacheco on my side, and you got Travis Kelsey. So Mahomes and Kelsey could cancel some stuff out. It's really going to come down to that Monday night game.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, we'll see. I've had your number recently, but it might be your time to shine.
I tell you what, I'm gonna need. No, you're gonna beat me.
I'm your New York Giants.
Yeah, you're gonna beat me. That's how it's gonna go. I'm screwed. I've had a really tough year in terms of just matchups this year. I mean, I've lost more games with 140 points than I don't know how many
No,
teams.
I haven't.
It's been rough. Yeah, I mean,
I've struggled to break 100.
I'm that guy. I'm that guy
No.
with the most with an incredible amount of points for. I mean, I think I'm looking at it
Although
now,
you and I are the top two
third in
scoring
the
teams
league.
in the league right now.
No, we're not.
There we are. This week.
This week, yeah. Of course,
This week.
you played me. That's what happens when you play me. Every week, if your team is having a slow week, Come play Dom. Tell you what, I'm going to score 130 points, but you're going to score 150. That's how it works this year.
God willing.
That's how it works this year. Whatever. Just put me out of my
I love you,
misery
son,
at this
but
point.
it would be wrong of me to lay down for you. I gotta teach you those tough life lessons.
Put me out. You've taught me enough making me root for this team. I'll tell you what. Put me out of my misery at this point. Just put me out of it. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for this season to let's just get to the playoffs where we can all just gamble on teams that we don't follow and have a good time. I'm ready for that. But without further ado, let's wrap this thing up. Guys, for hopefully the last time under the Ron Rivera administration, up to Dom.
It's Pop.
Thanks for another great week.